Here at Radical Personal Finance, over the years, I've tried to keep the whining and the complaining to a minimum. I think I used to do more of it than I do today, but I've tried to keep it to a minimum because I think that's a better way to live. And let's focus on useful things where we can create good solutions and not whine and complain. But if we are going to whine and complain, I think we should also be honest enough to acknowledge when things actually get better, when things actually get improved, actually get fixed. And there are two stories that have improved over the recent times. One of them more recent, the other a while ago. I'm going to cover the one that is more recent. And that story has to do with this Reuters headline from November 21, 2024. Headline: U.S. suspends controversial asset forfeiture program targeting airline travelers. The U.S. Deputy Attorney General has suspended a controversial civil asset forfeiture program by the Drug Enforcement Administration that targeted unsuspecting airline passengers and subjected them to potentially unlawful seizures of cash from their bags. The Justice Department's Inspector General, Michael Horowitz, announced the suspension of the DEA's program by Deputy Attorney General Lisa Monaco in a new report released on Thursday that raised grave concerns about the program and questioned whether some of the searches were conducted legally. Quote, the DEA was not complying with its own policy on consensual encounters conducted at mass transportation facilities, resulting in personnel creating potentially significant operational and legal risks, Horowitz wrote in a memo to Monaco and Ann Milgram, the DEA administrator. Civil asset forfeiture has long been a controversial program that critics argue infringes on people's constitutional rights against unlawful search and seizure. It allows police to search and seize property from people who may be suspected of a crime, even if they are never charged. The proceeds from the seizure are typically split among the law enforcement agencies involved in the search, creating what some argue is a perverse financial incentive for federal, state, and local police departments. The property owner can recover the assets only if he or she can prove the seizure was not connected to any criminal activity, creating a legal burden that is costly and time-consuming. And the article from Reuters goes on and describes how DEA agents would take cash. So, for example, they gave the example of a DEA office tapped an airline employee as a confidential source who tipped off agents anytime a passenger purchased a plane ticket within 48 hours of departure. Agents would use that last-minute purchase as a justification to then approach those passengers and try to get the passengers to agree to let them search their bags. So this has been, civil asset forfeiture is one of the most offensive things that can possibly be imagined. I've done various podcasts on it, and it's one of the kinds of things that honest-minded people would say, are you kidding me? We do that? How are we so evil as to do that? And yet, it's one of those things that has lingered and lingered and lingered and doesn't get fixed. And I confess that it's easy on this kind of stuff. It's easy to get black-pilled. It's easy just to say, nothing's ever going to get better. It's all bad. It's all going to hell, and we're just got to go along with it, and how can I get out and whatnot, which is why I want to acknowledge when things can change. And so there are a couple of lawsuits going on this issue right now, an important one from the Institute for Justice, and we'll see what happens. I would like to see civil asset forfeiture ended completely, because it is such an aberration in the American system. None of it follows the basic law with regard to your expectations of privacy, protections against unlawful search and seizure, and basically the right to face your accusers, innocent until proven guilty. It just violates every single one of these doctrines that Americans believe in and that our entire country is structured around. So let's back up for just a minute, and let's talk about how this happens. So if you go to the airport and you're carrying a significant amount of cash, then what has happened is somehow you often wind up facing a federal law enforcement agent of some kind. Now, how is unclear. And so, as you see in this account here, that the DEA person develops an informant who says, hey, here, you can go ahead and, I'll let you know of anybody that buys a ticket right before they travel. There have been reports of TSA agents tipping people off. And so you should always be mindful of that if you're traveling with cash and you put your bags through the scanning machine. And there have been a couple of pretty scandalous videos that thankfully people have been able to record and get published of the actual interactions with the law enforcement agents. Because law enforcement agents who have done this stuff are super cagey. They don't answer questions. They're following the technicalities of the law, but they've got the citizens, the common citizen, in a very disadvantageous place where you're in an airport where you do what you're told in the airport. You obey people. You understand that if I'm traveling for whatever reason, our society has understood that we're going to be giving up some of our rights, and so people come and ask all kinds of questions, and so people are in a vulnerable situation. Not only did you just get frisked and X-rayed, but now you're facing questions from a DEA agent who's saying, "Hey, can I talk to you?" And you're tempted to cooperate with those things. Now, you, in theory, retain some of the same rights that you have in other interactions with people, but these rights are much harder to exercise when you're sitting in a vulnerable position like that. So I don't know where this is going to end. Of course, we have this news report that the DEA has changed its policies. Excellent. There are agencies that are working for this. There's people that are trying to get new laws passed. I hope that we can make progress. But I just want to do my part to acknowledge that we do get good news. And this is actually one of the reasons why I think we should end lawyer jokes. This is just a little pet peeve of mine. In our culture, it's fun to make fun of lawyers. We all like to laugh at lawyers. We all like to talk about and drop our favorite lawyer jokes. I personally consider lawyers as potential heroes. Certainly not all of them are. All kinds of scuzzy, scammy lawyers. But lawyers are able to change the systems around us in a positive direction. And so there are various advocacy groups that are united around causes, and the lawyers that work for those advocacy groups are real heroes who are making a substantial difference and improving things. So I'll link to the full Reuters case for you to read and to check it out. I think we should celebrate, though, when we start to get things possibly improved. And this is why always film your interactions. If you're interacting with a police officer, a law enforcement officer, someone who claims to be a federal official, immediately start filming the interaction. Get that thing posted up online. And in this case, while it came from some very difficult situations with some pretty scandalous videos that have been published over the last months and years. At least we're moving in the right direction. So let's all acknowledge that. Quick reminder as I close the show out, remember that if you would like to improve things and move things in the right direction in your own life, rpfacademy.com is available to you right now. We'll be starting our first live class on Saturday. So make sure that if you are interested in making 2025 an absolutely gangbusters year for you, of having building for yourself a complete and comprehensive financial plan starting from nothing, please check out rpfacademy.com. It's going to be a great course. I've been doing hot and heavy with all of the interviews with and coaching calls with all of the course participants, and it's going to be an absolute great year. rpfacademy.com. Go there now. Sign up today so that you can be in for the live classes.